With reference to our neighborhood security patrols, one of the advantages that our neighbors have learned is to leverage technology
Absolutely.
to get information, to learn about their officers, to get a more personal level of service. How will you implement that kind of technology in our police department?
I would go and look at the models that are doing it the best. I mean, I visited New York, which uses cameras and technology as a robust part of their policing mechanism. Mm-hmm. It's very cost effective for them. I visited Chicago, which also uses cameras as a robust part of its policing mechanism. But I don't believe that any of that takes the place of police that are well led, that are well compensated, and highly motivated to do their job every day, and a police department where we cut the attrition rate significantly because our officers actually want to stay and work. So I believe technology is an important part of it, but I think that if we're not careful, technology is merely a Band-Aid to problems that we have turned away from for years. So I want to turn straight into them and really deal with the hard problems, and then technology really has a force multiplier effect, because the people that really do the job that you did for more than 29 years are at it at full speed, knowing that they have the complete support of the mayor behind them, and they're being treated that way.
Senator Reed, how will you address the problem of persistent and aggressive panhandling in Atlanta?
Well, I would address it in this fashion. First and foremost, I would have very clear rules and make the ordinances around panhandling crystal clear and make people aware of them so that there is no gray area on what the law is. But this is what I believe about panhandling. I believe that aggressive panhandling actually cripples our urban core so that we actually have to enforce the laws that we have. But whenever you're muscular on the police side, you also should have an infusion of humanity. And I happen to believe that the Gateway Center is that. I mean, I think that what we have done around the Gateway Center shows our humanity as a community. But I also think that because of what you have done in the Gateway Center and in areas of homelessness, you also should be more muscular about making sure that people who visit our city feel safe. And I will tell you this, I'm ready to have that debate. You know, when you have aggressive panhandling, it's not the folks who are lawyers and accountants and doctors who feel the brunt of the downturn. It's the person that's the waitress in the restaurant, the hostess, the person that makes the bed in the hotels. They're the ones that suffer. So I'm prepared to have that conversation in our city. And I'm prepared to enforce the ordinances we have in a robust way, and I'm prepared to make sure that we have an infusion of humanity at the same time.
Thank you.
We can do multiple things well in our city.
You mentioned this earlier, and as one of the first three things you would do, but as mayor, how will you ensure that the deplorable conduct that some of our disabled retired officers experienced, how will you inspect it to make sure that it's not reoccurring?
I'm going to get involved in it personally, and I'm going to review the contract that was granted to Nova Pro, and I'm going to review the file of each and every complaint that has been made against the firm during the course of the time that they've had the contract. And if I find that police officers and people that they service were not treated well and that the complaints were valid, I will act as soon as I am able to end the contract.
Okay. Thank you. One of the issues about openness and transparency has been the Atlanta Police Foundation. Mm-hmm. Mayor Franklin, Councilmember Martin did a great job of getting that here, and it's a quasi-public institution in that
Sure.
However, how do we know that, how does the public get access to the percentage of their contributions spent on their core mission, on the salaries, on their effectiveness of their programs?
I believe all that information should be public. I mean, I'm sorry for the short answer, but I believe that this quasi-agency deal doesn't really fly with me. I mean, if you look at my 11-year record in the General Assembly, I have been on the side of open records on every single vote that I've ever had the opportunity to take on open records.
one of the issues of accountability that our officers have raised to me is that if you go to the Police Foundation webpage today, there's no reference on the Crime Stoppers link to any of the tragic crimes that have occurred around Georgia Tech, or there's only one crime posted on Crime Stoppers from 2009. How would you hold a quasi-public institution accountable for delivering the public safety that they're trying to deliver?
On the Crime Stoppers issue, I'm going to hold back on that. I don't want to pretend that I'm going to get into the operation of the Police Foundation. So that would have to be something that will be worked out informally. But I will tell you, with access to information, I believe that process should be transparent. But I would imagine, all of these issues, I don't want to act like I will be directly involved in. But I would strongly encourage the foundation to err on the side of transparency, because that's just where I am and what I believe. I think it helps government function well. And I don't like entities that hide behind a quasi-governmental purpose to prevent information from being disclosed that would be disclosed if you were a government. When you derive your powers and ability from a government, I believe that the law should be applicable. You should handle the law, even if you have a protection, as if you would in a transparent fashion. That's what I believe.
Great. One of the concerns we have about our city council is that city council members have become ombudsmen or problem solvers because of departmental failures to respond to citizens. Sure. They used to be in more of a policy mode. How do you feel about this evolution or this requirements creep where every council member has a very competent assistant, such as Corona Horton, who services a lot of constituent complaints that in the past went directly to departments and directly to the police department?
I am not uncomfortable with members of council advocating for their constituents. I mean, as a state senator, when my constituents have problems, I advocate for them and intervene on their behalf in situations where that's necessary and appropriate. So that is not something that I would stand in the way of, because it is a tradition that I think works well. And I also think it's a part of representative government. I think that when you have a city council person, a state representative, or a state senator, and you have a problem, you have the right to go to them and ask for their assistance, as long as it is open and honest and ethical, the matter that they're getting involved in. Okay. I mean, you also would get some people beat. If Lynn Urban came and asked her city council person for some help on the matter, and he said that was Commissioner X's job, I don't know how she's going to feel about him when she goes to vote.
In downtown, there's a mix of jurisdictions. Certainly the state patrol, Georgia World Congress Center. Even within the city of Atlanta, there used to be a criminal justice coordinating council that kept those silos from occurring that you referred to earlier. How will you address, or how will you as mayor make these organizations more efficient, more effective?
I would actually restore that position because I think that we need to have individuals that can cut across lines. One of the fears that I have had is the issue of interoperability or failure for departments to work well together. So I would want an individual whose job was to do nothing more, or whose primary function was really to clear away the red tape between departments. And I would really like to see that between the police force and the fire force. And I think you need a designated person who's respected by people in public safety to actually coordinate that function. So I would go back to that.